my injury. So I was injured approximately 2.5 years now ago, and I was working in the ER in Minneapolis, and I was helping a patient get ready to leave to go to detox. This patient seemed stable enough to go, so I wasn't too concerned about them, but I was watching as they were getting dressed. When they started walking away from me to get a coat, I noticed that they were uneasy on their gait, so I went to reach for them, and they fell forward. I caught them, and as I was bringing them towards me, they started having a seizure. Something to note is that this patient was approximately 350-pound male, 6'2", 6'3" in height. Once I got him in my arms, I yelled for another nurse to come. He and I twisted to get the patient onto the bed, where he continued to have a seizure. At this point, I removed myself from the room because I was in extreme pain. And there were other nurses and doctors in there that could better help the patient than I could at the time. So once I get out of the room, I was stretching, trying to feel better, because it just felt like I had pulled something, or maybe just extended myself too far at first. And someone was talking to me, and I was like, I'm sorry, I'm not listening to you. I just need a moment. Hang on. And they're like, oh yeah, okay, whatever. I go to the bathroom and I just start sobbing and sobbing. I don't even really understand logically that I'm in pain. It's just like, why am I crying? And then finally my brain starts to catch up with my emotions, and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm in so much pain. My back hurts so bad. And I was like, okay, but I just got out of training. I didn't want to cause any drama or anything like that. I was like, I can get through this. I just need a minute. So once I calmed down enough to go out there, and as soon as someone comes up to me and they're like, are you okay? I just start sobbing again, and I can barely move. I'm walking super stiff. They immediately bring me into a room, and I become a patient in the ER. And the doctor comes to see me, and they say, oh, it looks like you pulled a disc in your back, and so you have to go home. They gave me some medications. My mom came from my hometown, which is approximately an hour and a half away, to come and get me. A few weeks later, I am told that I need to get a injection in my back to help with the healing process. It's supposed to help with the pain, so that way I can heal a little faster by moving, and hopefully by training it out, I guess is what they said. And so I went to get the injection, and the doctor perforated my S1 nerve with that. The guess is that the doctor perforated my S1 nerve. We can't prove it, but that's what my spinal doctor had suggested once looking into it further. After that injection, the same day, I went home, and my pain just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And I had taken oxycodone, and I had tried everything I could think of. So finally, my best friend took me to the ER, where they gave me pain medications and basically just knocked me out because I couldn't keep up with the pain. So I was in the hospital for 11 days total, and at the end of it, my best friend took me home. My mom and my best friend were in the hospital with me almost every day. I had someone there with me, which was really amazing. And I went home and started healing and going to physical therapy. But basically, the hospital that I was with, the doctors wanted me to do another injection, and I basically told them there was no way I would do that after the last one. So they said, well, you're gonna go to physical therapy and we'll see what happens. And they basically told me if I had any problems to call someone else. And that was the pain clinic doctor. After physical therapy wasn't really changing much in, I want to say, 4 months, they started doing water physical therapy, which was basically just a pool that went up to, I want to say, 4 feet, and it just made it easier for me to move around because the water takes a little bit of that pressure off of your spine, and it did seem to help a little bit. The hardest part was getting used to having to change in and out, because at this point I was using a wheelchair. I was still not walking long distances. I could barely make my own food. I had to have a shower chair in the shower. It was a lot of help needed at the time, which was really difficult for me because I'm a very independent person. So around 5 months, we start looking for a new doctor because things weren't escalating in the way that we wanted them to, or changing in the way that we wanted them to. And we decide to get a second opinion. When we talk to that doctor, he orders a new MRI, which is excruciating for me at the time because I couldn't lay flat on my back at all, especially for long periods of time. It was just extremely painful, but I knew that we needed these images, so I did push through the MRI, but within the next day I was hospitalized again for pain. With this doctor, I did start to see a little bit more changes. I started walking more. I was able to go on short walks. And I did the MRI. I was in and out of the hospital. Then I went back and did more physical therapy. I started getting better. This is when I started doing my photography, but then I had to do another MRI, and this is when he asked me to do another. This is when I was hospitalized for 3 days and asked to do another injection, which at this point I felt helpless. I felt like nothing was changing. Like, what was the point of not doing it, because I'm still in pain no matter what. So I did agree to do it. I felt much more comfortable in this instance. I was inpatient, taken care of, watched way more closely, and I wasn't discharged till the next day, so that made me feel a lot safer. It went perfectly fine. I could tell immediately the difference in pain and what happened and how my body reacted. That was approximately, I want to say, at 9 months, and by the year mark, so 3 months later, I was starting to go back to work in a completely different capacity, but I was basically going to the accounting area and doing paperwork for them for only up to 3 hours at a time, and by the 3-hour mark, I was absolutely in pain again. I had to go home and just lay down and put ice on and just try to rest. But slowly I was able to work my way back up, and about a year and a half later, after the injury, the original injury, I was working as a dispatcher. Instead of in the field, I was working as a dispatcher for the hospital that I had been injured at. they had taken really good care of me so far, and I felt very comfortable working with them still. The dispatcher position was very hard on me during training. I had to go out to my car and use the heated seats just to try to calm down my back. I had a electrode zapper thing. I can't remember the name right now, but I would use that to try to get through the day, and those were only 8-hour days. Working with that new doctor, he would write, okay, you can only work 8 hours, you have to have a sit-stand desk, etc. And about, I want to say at the year and 8 months, he signed me off for full duty. And this is when I am working out almost every day. And by working out at that time, it was lightly weight training, trying to get my core strengthened, trying to work on my back and everything. And I was signed off for full duty, which was huge. Since then, I've been working as a dispatcher in Minnesota and getting stronger, feeling more independent, started living by myself, and then finally, once I felt much better, I'm still on medications to this day for pain, but much better, I decided to move to Hawaii. And the biggest part of moving here was, after my injury, I told myself I wouldn't hold myself back anymore. I would go after what I wanted, and traveling has always been a part of that, and living in somewhere that is so beautiful yet obtainable for the US, so medication wise, was a really big thing for me. I had to be able to get medications easily and accessible, and doctors accessible. So that's why I chose Hawaii, because it was the most unlike the US I could think of while still being in the US to get the needs met that I had.